Apple announces they want to take on YouTube and Spotify with new video podcasting push. Apple. When you think podcasting, you don't think about Apple. I don't even think Apple pays. Rob, does Apple pay anything in AdSense? I don't think Apple pays anything, right? There is no pay from Apple.
Not in comparison to Spotify.
Not in comparison to Spotify and YouTube. And by the way, YouTube used to be higher. Now, apparently, Spotify even pays better than YouTube on AdSense. We get the reports on a weekly basis, and you'll see Spotify getting above it. But Apple on Monday announced that it'll bring a new integrated video podcast experience to Apple Podcasts this spring. This move comes as video viewership continues to reshape podcasting. About 37% of people ages 12 and up watch video podcasts monthly, according to Edison Research. The update brings Apple Podcasts more in line with its competitors, Spotify, YouTube, and now Netflix, which have increasingly leaned into video podcasting. 20 years ago, Apple helped take podcasting mainstream by adding podcasts to iTunes, and more than a decade ago, we introduced a dedicated Apple Podcast app, says Eddie Q, Apple's Senior Vice President of Services, in a statement. By bringing categories leading video experience to Apple Podcasts, we're putting creators in full control of their content and how they build their business, making them easier than ever for audiences to listen. I get it, but what are you paying? Pomp, your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that, look what you guys are doing here, right? This is basically what TV used to be. And so what's the difference between a podcast or a TV segment? It's actually in the distribution. There is no big difference. And as somebody who goes on legacy television quite a bit, but also is on the internet, people always ask, why do you go on TV? And I tell them it's because I use the TV as a clip to then put on social media. It's basically just content creation. There's a different vibe, there's different people, different characters, different conversation there, but it's really just to drive the distribution on social media. So I think that's one big piece of it. And what these guys are realizing is also that the business economics of podcasts or that type of content is much more favorable to both the content creator, but also to the distributor. So if I want to go and I want to license CNBC or I want to license, CNN or whatever, there's all of these things involved, including all the agents that are involved for the hosts themselves, how much the unions are involved in producing the show, the distribution, all the people who have a hand in the cookie jar in terms of getting a cut. Well, if you just go straight to YouTube or you go straight to Spotify or you go straight to YouTube, to Apple, now all of a sudden you don't have all those people who are extracting value along the way. And so what you're able to do is you're able to get the content to the audience in a much more cheap, streamlined way. And so that means that there's more profit for everyone to enjoy. And I think that's why Apple, who's really not only a hardware company, now a services company, they want to get in this game because they realize they're going to make more money here licensing this content than they are in some of these other, kind of traditional legacy media.
But I got to tell you, Apple is not going to win this race with Spotify and YouTube. Apple, you know what Apple's mindset's always been? You're lucky to be on our app. Therefore, you pay us a third, right? And they had that whole lawsuit that happened that changed the numbers. What was that video game company that was the first one brave enough to sue Apple? Do you know
Epic.
who I'm talking about?
Epic,
yeah, Epic that went through it. So when I look it up right now on what Spotify does and what Apple does and what YouTube does. So Spotify pays 50% of the ad revenue goes to eligible creators under its partner model, okay? Podcasters can offer pay tiers and keep 100% of the subscription minus processing fees, okay? YouTube, you'll typically make $1 to $2 per thousand monetized views. So you could make $1,500 to $2,500 per 500,000 monthly views that you have. Okay, so their share of the AdSense, 55-45. Apple pays nothing. The only thing they do is if you have a subscription model. So if Apple wants to compete, and if they go this model with no AdSense, they're not going to be able to compete with the other guys. Apple has to figure out a way to bring the AdSense model to it. And by the way, if they did, they would be so competitive if they started allowing content creators to get paid. They're not there yet, there right now. When you, Rob, think about it. Can you run a poll real quick? When you think about podcasting, matter of fact, just ask the question, where do you consume your podcast? That's kind of an unfair place to ask the question because they're watching it on YouTube. But maybe ask the question the following way. Which of these do you look at as a preferred podcast platform? Spotify, YouTube. Okay, you already have it. Can you run the poll? Let me see the poll. It put 89% where? YouTube, Spotify, 9. But this is, we're asking people on YouTube.
Here's one piece that I would say is if Apple came to me and they said, hey, we're going to give you the distribution, but we're not going to make any money for you. We're not going to sell any ads against your content. I would actually prefer to put the content on Apple because they're going to give me distribution, but they're not going to take anything. And so if you look at most people who are creating content, I think that there's a large portion of them that they rely on the AdSense. So if you're on YouTube, a lot of people are not selling ads themselves; they're just getting the AdSense. But for the higher level, the more sophisticated shows or content creators, they're monetizing themselves. So if you look at like the revenue for anything we put on YouTube, the amount of AdSense dollars we get compared to what we sell ourselves is immaterial. So what I want is I want distribution.
Are you comfortable sharing that number?
No, they probably won't let us do that, or our team would get mad. But
let me ask you a question.
But let's just say it's like 10-1.
10-1 on what you do.
Like we sell direct ads ourselves
versus the other way around.
What the YouTube guys sell.
So to me, I would say I understand what you're saying because you're a pro, but you're not everybody.
Correct.
Right? And so to me, if you want to get mass exposure and growth, guess what? You have to hit that market up that doesn't have a sponsorship division.
Yes.
That's not doing it. So
we're not all Patrick Bet-David, but we're trying.
No, we're not all pomp is what I'm saying, because you get a lot of sponsorship money. We don't do with everybody. We have one sponsor that we work with, and that's kind of how we'll do certain things with. But to me, I think Apple has an opportunity, and I wonder why the reasoning is. Jeff, where are you at with this?
I think it's great because, like you said, it opens the door for potentially other business models, right? That's it's competition. That's what it's supposed to do, and that's why social media and these kinds of platforms, you're right, it's about distribution. It's not necessarily about ads. If you have a different business model and you don't want to go through the traditional YouTube or whatever else, Apple gives you the opportunity to get to a different marketplace, a different set of eyeballs. And if you can figure out how to make money on that, that's terrific. So
do you think Apple's eventually going to offer an AdSense division?
I think they have to. I mean, otherwise, why are they doing this?
You think they will?
They have to.
If they do, who has a bigger distribution than them? YouTube?
Exactly. They have to have some kind of
vision.
There's got to be some kind of idea. I mean, they're not just doing this as, we're getting our asses kicked by all the other platforms. We need to just get in the game. They have some idea here. And I think it's exactly what Anthony just said.
It's what?
It's lazy. Like, how about freaking create something? I mean, like, they just mooch off other ideas the last decade or so. I mean, ever since Steve Jobs died, they haven't created anything. They just, Apple banking, now this. I mean, how about create something as the biggest market cap in the world? That's
they would tell you we did create podcasting.
Yeah, but
they would
Steve
tell
Jobs.
But then
you're right. And by the way, I think you also have a good point that there a lot of people are on your side as well that criticize why they're not creating any new products. I mean, if you get a story, do you think Apple wants to hear a story that says Berkshire Hathaway, chooses to invest? I don't know what page that story is, Rob. Berkshire Hathaway chooses to invest in New York Times, and there it is. Berkshire Hathaway invests in New York Times and trims Apple. You think that's a good story?
No.
Berkshire Hathaway? Now, some people may say, well, Buffett is no longer involved, so it's a different person that's doing it, but there is a level of criticism towards new things they're creating.
It's like, what's the growth story? Like they haven't heard of Apple AI yet, not even a peep about it.
I get that. Do you think they eventually will get into AdSense?
Yeah,
for podcasting.
Yeah, they should, but it's not like a huge revenue stream. It's not a huge vertical. I don't know what the story is as far as like a huge growth story for Apple. It's like there's a huge growth story for the other there's a huge growth story for Tesla, Google, but not Apple. No, like they already have the full potential of the phone market.
Pomp, you look like you want to say something.
I think Apple has always done the exact same thing, which is they own the hardware market. They have a very luxury position there. They've been very good at international expansion to the point where I think people even criticize them that they are very focused on, Asia, China, etc. And I don't know if you guys have seen this chart where basically every single one of the large tech companies is heavily investing in data centers and GPUs and all this stuff, and it's just like the capex expenditure on this thing has exploded, and Apple is basically flat. And everyone's like, well, why are they not spending money on this? And so when you see that, you start to ask yourself, okay, like what's the strategy here? Well, if you own the hardware, that is the consumer device in people's hands, you own distribution. If you own distribution, what have they done over the last 15 years or so? They have started to expand their revenue sources by offering services. Some of those services were just like App Store bullshit that they were, essentially just taking the 30%. But they also did Apple Music, and they started to kind of get into all these things. When you get into podcast, what I think is really interesting about the internet is the internet not only has opened up these new business models, but there's a very strong argument that MrBeast is the new, ABC or, whatever channel.
Paramount.
Paramount.
Exactly.
So there was a clip that recently went viral of MrBeast and the president of Beast Industries, and they were talking at the DealBook Summit, and they said, well, what's your business? He said, all right, so we got the content, and that includes everything from going on YouTube to now they have the Amazon show and Beast Games and all that. Then they've got an entire consumer product division, which started out as like knick-knack type food and Feastables, Lunchy or whatever it's called. Now they just bought a bank, right? They bought a fintech app that they're going to go distribute it.
Yeah.
And then they're saying, oh, wait a second, but we're also going to create a marketplace for creators and advertisers to come and get connected to each other. So they're realizing that, hold on, if we have distribution, then we can put products through that distribution, but then we also can create a marketplace where we can take a fee. That's Apple's business. Apple has the distribution, they create the services, then they have the marketplace. And so I just think that distribution naturally leads itself to wanting all these different revenue sources. And so they get into podcast. Yeah, of course they're going to eventually do AdSense, but I think they're also going to try to figure out how do you do it in the Apple way? What's the other things that you can do that, YouTube or others may not be able to do?
And where was this? The MrBeast?
MrBeast is at the DealBook Summit. If you go to Twitter, just do Beast, business line maybe or something like that.
It's called what summit?
DealBook Summit.
DealBook.
Go to media. Yeah, just do MrBeast and then click on media. Nah. Let's see.
And while you're looking, all that relies on them being the main phone for people. Though, like, what if they got disrupted by their technology? Then they'd be, destroyed pretty quickly. No.
Wasn't that kind of like an arrogant assumption, though? If we own the technology, if we own the device, then people will just naturally flow from there. That may have worked 10 years ago,
right?
But the entire space has changed.
Right.
You don't think that applies today? You don't think distribution wins?
No, it does. But the distribution, the nature and character of distribution, as Anthony's saying, is completely changing.
Right.
That's the evolution here. That gets us back to Paramount and Netflix and everything else.
Search on Twitter. Search MrBeast consumer, but MrBeast is all one word.
The entire media ecosystem it's being rewritten. It's completely rewritten, but it's only maybe a third of the way through it.
How long is it, Rob?
1 minute, 16 seconds.
Let's watch it. Go for it.
So we have three divisions. Our media division, which obviously, as Jimmy talked about, YouTube is the anchor, but our shorts on TikTok and Instagram. Beast Games, which season 2 is airing in January. We just dropped animation. We also are working on other channels. So all of the content is one division, and that today is about half the revenue. And then we have a second division, which is our consumer products and services. Feastables being the anchor, our chocolate brand, the largest ethically sourced chocolate brand in the world. Our MrBeast Labs toy, where our toy is now the #1 action figure in America. And our Lunchly, which is our snack product, in addition to our joint venture with Jack Link's for beef jerky. We're also launching a phone company, Beast Mobile, and a financial services platform in there, wrapped in financial literacy and access to the world's information in making sure we're doing good while doing well. And then the last one, which we're really excited about, is building a two-sided marketplace and a global creator platform, matching creators with Fortune 1000 marketers who want to be able to access the creator influencer economy in an efficient way to be able to build demand for their products and services.
This is what you call the ultimate flywheel, the importance of first winning with distribution, and then you can pick and choose. I just pulled up some numbers here. 2024, their holding company, Beast Industries, did $473 million in revenue. 2025, projected Beast Industries, the numbers are not finalized, $899 million. You know that snack brand that he was talking about, Feastables? You know what's the top line revenue just on Feastables? $250 million in sales just in 2024 when you think about this. So this is the engine, the brand being created, the flywheel, some of the things that we talked about a year and a half ago at the Vol Conference, and those who were there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is powerful. This is powerful. The question is, Pomp, is this duplicatable? Can anybody do what MrBeast is doing? Maybe not at his level, but is it duplicatable?
Well, I think that there's people who are already doing it. So Kim Kardashian and MrBeast, from a business model standpoint, same thing, right? Get attention, drive distribution, build businesses, put it through the distribution. If you look at Jake and Logan Paul, I mean, they're two of the best entrepreneurs, I think, of our generation, right? Same thing. Get attention, build distribution, put products and services through it. Yep. So it's definitely replicatable. Now, what I think is really interesting and for Jimmy is going to be his audience tends to be younger and tends to have smaller dollars than, let's say, a Ryan Serhant or somebody with a
Sure.
much larger audience that is, or I'm sorry, with a much
Smaller audience, but a richer.
correct. So what is he going to do as they grow in age? So he's already got the relationship with them, and now you see him going into the fintech space, right? So if he can grow with this audience over time, it is going to be insane as they come into more money and they start to have disposable income. He's going to be able to sell them all kinds of things that previously looked like snacks that are high volume, low price
How
point.
closely you think he studies PewDiePie as a case study to see what was done right and what was done wrong? Because think about it. 10 years ago, PewDiePie runs the world, right? If you remember when they were racing with that other Indian YouTube channel, what was the other YouTube channel called when he was competing with? It starts with a T. Can you ask the question, which
T-Series?
is it called T-Series?
I think so.
I think it's called T-Series, on who would get to 100 million first.
Yeah.
And I think Beast got there or something. But how much do you think he studies PewDiePie to say, I don't want to make some of those mistakes or do what he did right?
I've talked to Jimmy a number of times, and the two things I can tell you is, one, he is incredibly intelligent and he's very strategic. But the second thing is, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, he called me one time and just out of the blue, and I answered. He goes, Pomp, teach me something. I said, Jimmy, you okay? They teach me something. And we started talking about, space
That was the opening
and
of the
rockets.
call.
Yeah, he had 5 minutes, and he was just calling people on his phone, and he was just like, hey, what's something you learned this week or whatever.
Wow.
That tells you everything you need to know about a person in terms of their ability to continue to grow, learn, try to get better, etc. This guy is the top of his game. The gentleman that you saw talking there, Jeff, he's former CEO of Shutterfly. He worked at SoftBank. Now he came in as the president, and I think he's the CEO of Beast Industries. You don't recruit talent like that unless you're hyper ambitious, and those people look under the hood and say, you got the goods.
What's the comp for a guy like that? What's he making?
Probably
3 to
not
20?
enough.
3 to 20?
I mean, it all depends on what is the equity package, right? But from a cash perspective, maybe he's getting paid, $1-2 million in cash, and then on the equity side,
Upside, whatever you'd end up doing?
well, it also depends on how much, is he going to bet on himself, right? Like one of the things that's becoming very popular in public markets is the CEOs who take these kind of performance-based packages. And so, I've even taken inspiration from whether it's Elon Musk, at Kazo, at Open Door, et cetera. It's people just saying, listen, shareholders want to see executives win if they're winning. They don't want to see the executive making $25 million a year as the stock goes down.
We have our annual Sales Leadership Summit that is coming up this year. We're doing it at the Trump Doral. I went to the property the other day. Unbelievably beautiful property. And if you're a sales person or a sales leader or a CEO that wants to drive sales and find superstars and develop superstars, Rob, play that clip that you have. I think Alicia sent it to you. Go right ahead, buddy.
I got a question for you. Which of these two skill sets guarantees success more? You being able to recruit rock stars, 8s and 9s, coming in talented and they change the company overnight. Or two, you knowing how to develop rock stars. Which of these two guarantees success? From my experience, when I was not a rock star and I got lucky and I recruited a rock star, I could never keep the rock star. Eventually, I obsessed over developing people to succeed in sales. Once I did that, all the rock stars started knocking on the doors because they wanted to work with me. This is why once a year I host an event called the Sales Leadership Summit. This year we're doing it March 25th through the 27th at Trump Doral. If you want to find out how you and your team can attend this event to learn how to become better sales leaders, click on a link below, fill out your information. One of our consultants will get a hold of you.
There you go, Rob. That's the QR code, and we're going to put the link below. Rob, if you can put the link below as well for people to go learn more about it and fill out the information. One of our representatives will call you and answer any questions you may have about the event, and hopefully we'll see you there March 25th to the 27th at the Trump Doral.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.